Hey everybody, this is me, Harpal, Tosca, and Nikki. We were just putting a recording together for everybody, all the parents and prospects to know of a wonderful program for mentorship that Tosca and Nikki have been working with me for the past few months now. And we've just come out of pilot. We've done about 10 students that were in the initial pilot with us. And in this session, we'll have Tosca walk through what the mentorship program meant to us, the vision that we had in place, what she saw as results. Obviously, both Nikki and Tosca have gone through this, so you'll hear both of us, me and Nikki, asking questions as well in between, but just fire along. Here you go, Tosca.
Great. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you. And today we're going to just be sharing more about the mentorship program. You already know who we are, so we don't really need to elaborate on that. But our team is going to be expanding in the near future, so expect to see some more friendly faces soon. So this mentorship program is addressing a very specific set of problems that we have noticed, which we first noticed working with students working on their college apps, their applications. We noticed that some of the problems that were coming up were kind of just too late to address, and we hoped to get ahead of those problems and start working with students when they're younger, as early as 8th grade through 10th grade. So some of the problems we noticed are goal setting is happening too late. Students are not being asked to reflect on where they're trying to go, and sometimes the first time they're thinking about their major is when they're writing that college application. That's way too late, and ideally it should be happening when the student is getting to high school and not finishing high school. On that same note, a lot of students are just kind of unprepared to be a competitive college applicant. They don't have things that are really standing out. They've copied what their friends do and haven't taken the time to connect with their activities and excel. So that's another thing that we want to work with students on. One big need we noticed also is that some students lack soft skills. They're called soft skills, but might be more appropriate name-wise is essential skills. Things like interviewing, networking, or communication skills, and the ability to make a connection with someone new who is unfamiliar, does not have a shared background. And then finally, you may have noticed this in your own students, or students, you may have noticed this yourselves. A lot of you guys just tell us you feel super stressed and directionless. You feel nervous about the future, and you don't really know who to talk to about the choices that you have to make going to college and beyond. So that is where this program comes in. So there we have about a 3-pronged mission. The first thing we want to do is develop those soft skills, or those essential skills, really. Things like, how do you put a calendar together? How do you get ready for an interview? How do you talk to someone new? How do you introduce yourself with confidence? How do you describe what your mission is? The next thing that we want to do with you is help you find your path and get ready for college specifically. Key to that is what we affectionately call an unpaved path. So instead of you mimicking what your friends are doing, or your student mimicking what their friends are doing, we want to work with you to customize a plan and approach to high school, college, and beyond that makes sense for your interests and your passions. And the final thing is building resilience and adaptability. So this character and creativity, which you'll see on the slides, are just neglected, honestly, at school. And we want to bring those to the forefront because we believe they're essential to success later in life. Any questions so far? Does this sound right to you guys, Harpal and Nikki?
It sounds perfect. The
Okay.
developing soft skills are perfect, and you're hitting it. Perfect.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we have a unique philosophy. First off, like I said, this program is completely customized. So we have our own curriculum, an internal curriculum that's based off of a ton of research that we've done. That said, we're working with your students one-on-one and trying to pay attention to their needs and their desires and their goals. We ask why a lot. So we will have hour-long conversations with your student and really go in depth into why they do what they do. that might mean talking about why they prioritize the classes that they do, why they've picked the clubs that they do, why they spend their free time the way that they do. As mentors, though, we are guides and we offer accountability, but we don't command students. So what that means is we ask questions, we offer advice, and we can follow up on things students have committed to doing, but we don't tell your student what we think they ought to do. We're trying to make space for your student to figure that out themselves and to take that responsibility and be independent. We are also practicing the skills of self-reflection and personal problem solving. So by meeting frequently, depending on your student's age, every 3 weeks to 4 weeks, your student will gain practice doing this kind of self-reflection that's necessary for success in college and beyond. Finally, we can't really emphasize this enough. We see high school, college, and extracurriculars as part of a path, but not end goals. So we don't only do this program because we want your child to gain admission to a school, although admittedly that's super important, but because hopefully that college admission will help them get somewhere that's meaningful and important to them, and academically rewarding, and or all of those different things. Okay, so a few more details. Well, let's just show you what this is like in practice. Here are a couple of students who we have actually worked with, and these are examples of, you'll see student 1, here's an example, and then 3 of that student's interests. So student 1 that I'm thinking of, she's really interested in business, fashion, and sustainability. So together we thought of a couple of options that she might want to pursue someday. Maybe fashion marketing, maybe she wants to be a cosmetology startup founder, maybe she just wants to go into private equity, she just loves business. So our next steps in this program would be to look for what skills all of those paths have in common. So obviously she needs to have some understanding of how businesses work. So maybe that means we encourage her to take business classes at community college, or to do those AP Ec electives, or to join DECA at school, or to even just kind of start her own company or get a job, and get experience in business, right? Or let's take our next example, or I like this example, student 4. Student 4 is a student who's interested in political science, who does yearbook, and then a cause they really care about is immigration. Here's some options that come together: being a campaign manager, maybe a newspaper editor, or a policy analyst, or a nonprofit founder, maybe even an immigration lawyer. What are some things that all of those have in common? Amazing writing skills, an interest in politics. So next steps might be that student goes and tries to take more advanced writing classes and prioritizes their English classes, or does some independent writing and contributes op-eds to a local newspaper. Maybe they also go and work on a campaign. This coming summer would be a perfect summer to do it. The 2024 elections are coming up. So this student would have the opportunity to start building some of these skills that we see across these 5 different career paths that interest them, right? So you see how we have a process, but it's completely customized to the student.
What I like about your process, Tasca, here is the fact that each of these steps you're telling them, or these are actionable, like student 1, you're saying we could go into fashion marketing or private equity. Most students don't have a clue what these things entail. And when they go out and do the research and they come back with an answer like a yes, I want to do this, or no, I don't want to do it. Now we are really creating intelligent students who are well aware of what they want and what they do not want beyond APs or just 4.0s in GPAs. And, so you are taking them to the next level. And the good thing is all these 4 students are people you have worked with in the last 6 months. So you have anecdotal data points to make these statements. Good.
Yes. And I would also love to give the example of students I know in my personal life. One of my best friends at Harvard, she graduated this past year. In high school, every day she got up early before school and went and volunteered at her local homeless shelter, not because she thought it looked good on her resume, not because someone was making her, but because that was a cause she truly cared about. And she got to Harvard, and throughout her degree, which she studied psychology and neuroscience, she continued to work at a local homeless shelter for young people, and eventually became a director there by the time she was a senior. And now she's doing research at Vanderbilt into how bipolar and schizophrenia uniquely affect homeless youth. And to us, it seems obvious that she would wind up in that place, right? But it might not have been as obvious in high school that the work she was doing was laying the foundations for where she was going. But she had these missions or these things in mind that she wanted to accomplish that guided her over time. Instead of doing things, like, she was intrinsically motivated and had a good sense of herself and what she wanted to do. So that's something that we're trying to cultivate as well. Okay, are you guys ready to move on?
Yes.
Cool. So here are some deliverables or specific things that we will be doing with your students. We're going to be doing everything ranging from like career planning. So we have a number of exercises and resources at our disposal to help your student consider what path they might want to go down. We also cover everything to like summer program selection. That's something that we actually are picking up on right now because a lot of applications are going to be opening in December and January. So we don't want any students to be in a rush looking for those. We'll do things like look at a student's current extracurriculars and evaluate which ones feel like part of their story and which ones are kind of random and not necessary, maybe even a waste of time. Not a waste of time in that they're bad to do, but they just don't make sense for that student's interests and goals. We also have resources and exercises for building self-reflection, like journaling. We have tons of prompts, and we'll work with your student to develop that skill. We have curriculum on speaking and meeting new people, especially for interviews, making a positive impression. We'll even talk about something called recreational learning, which is helping students develop side interests or a greater awareness of the world that could help motivate what they do and bring new meaning to it. And that's definitely something that a holistic college admissions process would be looking for. So there are benefits all around.
What I like about what you have here, Tasca, is this can be, it could be an 8th grader or a 10th grader or even a senior. We don't do it for seniors, but if we were to do it, or somebody even later, as Nikki at one point said, that it's, think of this for the audience to think of it like shades, or the concept of direction or enrichment. We might start you off in the 8th grade with some aspects of it. Maybe we might do one of these 9 boxes, in more details in 1 year. But over the years, the goal is, if you joined us in 9th grade, 10th grade, we make sure by the time you are in senior year, you're buttoned up, ready to go with pretty much all these components. And they just, the shades, the colors just keep getting improved on each of the columns. And by the time you're ready. But the good thing is you can, at any given time, get into it, pick up skills from here. You join in September, you join in December. We could have some flavors of the month that we're working on, but we'll make sure you get through across the entire thing.
Yeah, and something important to know, I think that's a perfect point, is I do all of these things to this day as a senior in college, and I anticipate I'll keep doing them even when I graduate. Next semester, I'm planning on taking a public speaking class. These are all things that we believe are important for all people, not just for 8th graders or 9th graders or 10th graders, but the sooner they learn these skills, the more the advantages of having them will compound and get them on an unpaved path that makes sense for them and is really exciting and fulfilling and overall just excellent. That's what we're going for. Okay, so an example timeline. Like we said, it's customized, but maybe in the first couple of meetings, we would be putting out fires. That's what we call it. So if a student, let's say they're really struggling with their time management, they're falling behind in their classes, something is going really wrong, we would work together on addressing that first, because it's really hard to do these other things if those huge crises aren't being taken care of. So what that might look like is helping the student put together a calendar, reach out to their teachers, ask for help, get their classes settled. And then we would start reflecting. You see in quarter 2, that'd be the next set of meetings. We might do something like go through all of their extracurriculars, see what's missing, see what's wasting their time, see if there's something that they could be pursuing outside of school. Those are all examples. And also making sure that they have some kind of volunteering or service that is meaningful to them. I think that's one of the things I've noticed is most often missing amongst the students I've worked with so far is a lack of service that is personally meaningful to that student, that they can relate to their own experiences or life, which is often more fulfilling and interesting to a college. Past that, we would get into more complex skills, like the soft skills we talked about, maybe even a self-directed project, things like summer planning. Like I said, we're doing that right now. And then finally, the end of a year-long program would conclude with continuing to look forward, make longer term plans, a year out, 2 years out, instead of just a couple of months out, explore college majors or careers, and figure out what steps the student could take over the next couple of years to get there. Are we good to move on?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. This is just what a typical meeting looks like. The first 15 minutes, I like to check in with students. Nikki probably does something similar. Nikki, you can always pipe in if you'd like to. Check in, ask about how school's going, how their extracurriculars are going, check in on the action items from the prior meeting. We assign a handful of action items that are mutually agreed upon with the student that they commit to doing before the next meeting. So an example might be researching 5 summer programs, or starting that club at school, or reading a new book about an area of recreational learning that the student is committed to learning about. Then about 35 minutes are spent discussing the topic of the day. So let's say that is journaling. We'd be talking about the goals of journaling, how to journal, picking out prompts together, identifying time during the day that the student could be journaling, discussing what makes a good journal entry versus a bad journal entry, on and on and on. The final 10 minutes would be us reviewing, planning the action items for the next meeting, and then addressing any remaining questions, and also setting up our next meetings. And then parents, I'm sure you want to know, how are you going to know what's going on? We have a ton of tools that help you stay up to date to whatever extent you'd like to. So you'll, one thing we actually have on this call right now, and part of how you're seeing this, is Otter. Otter is an AI that we use that joins our calls and transcribes them automatically. And you can have access to those links with recordings and transcriptions, and also meeting summaries. So if you just want to have a sense of what your student talked about with their coach, you can take a quick glance at that. Another thing is we have a dashboard that we can use where we can make notes on what we're working on with the student and how we feel their progress is coming along, and also where we can record the action items that we agreed to together. And then finally, we're hoping to have quarterly check-ins. We've started doing this, and parents have expressed that they really appreciate it and find it interesting. These quarterly check-ins are brief. They're normally 15 to 30 minutes, but they're time for the student and their mentor to discuss what they've talked about and how the student feels they've progressed since starting the program, and also an opportunity for parents to ask questions and share their perspectives on how their student is doing. Okay, with that, we've pretty much covered anything. Well, not anything, everything. So thank you. If you're interested in signing up, Harpal, would you like to explain how they can do that?
No, this is great. This was good informational
Yeah.
session for explaining to parents, because many of them have asked questions on how will we measure the success. And as you said earlier, this is an ongoing journey that we are putting our students on. The sooner you come on board, the more you get out of it. So this is great. Thank you, Tosca.
Of course.